Welcome to StrategyShift podcast, where we talk about strategy in business, product, sales, marketing, and more. What is digital transformation? I can give you the Wikipedia answer first. Digital transformation is the process of adoption and implementation of digital technology for organization in order to create new or update existing products, services, and operations. That's a pretty convoluted answer and probably very, very hard to understand. What does the adoption of digital technology mean? What does it entail? There's too many questions in that description. More importantly, how would you explain that to somebody like your grandmother or your kids? That is a difficult question. For your grandma to understand digital transformation, she needs to know a lot about computers, internet, understand various technical concepts, and be generally versed in what this last 20 years, how they've changed the world. So to make it easier to understand, a good analogy would be very useful. Digital transformation is like replacing all of the horse-drawn carriages in a city with cars. You're taking an old technology and you're replacing it with something new that's more effective, faster, brings more value, and is more efficient than the previous one. Another example would be replacing your old analog TV channels with Netflix. That's a digital transformation in your house. You had something that was old technology that was not very effective for you with Netflix, on-demand television with a wide variety of choices. One more example would be McDonald's, where they replace cash registers and workers with automated ordering robots. That is digital transformation. So digital transformation is using technology to supplement or replace some type of work in your business. So what are the types of digital transformation out there and how can your business benefit from them? A while back, I was working with a secondary institution and helping them with several digital transformation projects. One of the projects that I worked on was helping a department that was dedicated to fulfilling requests for reserved books for students. Students who wanted a book from a different university or different college could fill out this form that they would then submit over to the department, and the department would get the books from the other institutions. The form was paper-based. The student had to come in, fill out the form, give it to the person would review it, then call in the request to another department, that department would contact the other university or college, see if they had the book, and the whole process would go. The student would not know the status of the request unless they called in and asked, and even that was hard to get. And once the book came in, however long it took, the student would be called via the phone, notified that the book was here, and then the student would go and pick it up. So a long, tedious process with lack of visibility, lack of understanding how long things took to complete. What we were tasked with was making that process better, digitizing the process and the whole and the data that came with it, the digital transformation of that. We wrote the software to help manage the requests, right? So the students were able to request the books online. They didn't have to come in, and we were able to track the progress of how long, where the book was, what the request was, and then be notified via email or text if the book was ready for them to pick up. We also were able to look at the process, the whole process, the steps that were part of this system, and then optimize that and make sure that we eliminated unnecessary steps, reduced the number of manual tasks that employees and staff needed to do. This was the digital transformation done that took manual process and assets and converted them into the digital form. There were several types in this transformation. There was the digitization of assets and the digitization of a process. Digitization of assets is one of the types of digital transformation that you can do, where you can take something that was previously a paper form or physical form, and then you make it into a digital form. One example is many book publishers went from publishing books, who had physical books, paper books, into publishing that and digitizing the books into an electronic format, PDFs, where people can now download them and read them on their ebooks, readers like Kindle, Kobo, and such. They also took that a step further and digitized created an audio version, so a digital audio version of that you can download through something like Audible and then listen to. So they underwent a digital asset transformation, so digitization of assets. The second step of my previous example was the process optimization, the process transformation to make it digital. So that involves looking at the steps that it takes that a human used to do and see if you can automate some of them so that now you don't need to, the human doesn't need to do it, or the human doesn't have to supervise that, right? So you automate these things. So that's digital transformation of the process. No digital transformation can be done without changing how your team works and how your team thinks about work. This process, usually called agile digital transformation, was adopted from the software world, where software teams used agile method to improve how they worked, how they communicated, and how they delivered software. Some of the things that are involved in that is changing the day-to-day processes on how your team communicates, how your team plans and organizes their work, improving the communications, using the tools to organize the work, such as task management, um, tracking of the goals, and also looking for ways to make a team more productive by utilizing, for example, implementing Microsoft Word as the standard for your organization. That's, or Google Docs or whatever it is, so that there's a standardization that's happening, right? So the agile digital transformation rather, is about looking at your team, how your team works, and figuring out how you can make that process, their processes, more efficient, effective, and reducing the cost that it takes, the time cost that it takes to do the work. Agile transformation, when done right, can lead to huge productivity increases and job satisfaction from your employees, which in the end leads to better customer service, better dedication to the business, and of course, increased growth and more profits. Here are a couple of examples of digital transformation done by other companies. The first example comes from Sonnen, which is a B2C, business to consumer, renewable energy provider. Their main role is to allow you, a customer who has solar panels, for example, to sell back energy back into the grid so other customers can use. So they enable that process. You buy the solar panels, you generate some for yourself, some energy for yourself, and then you sell some of that energy back to the consumers who don't have the solar panels in your neighborhood. The interesting thing about Sonnen digital transformation, which happened from 2017 to 2021, it took 4 years. The interesting about that transformation was that they didn't have to do it because they were under pressure from competition, or because they had old technology, or because they were trying to survive. You see, most digital transformations in business are required because either your tools are too old, they've incurred something called technical debt, so they're so old that they can't be updated, they're not as efficient, they don't provide the same benefit as they used to. The competition is doing something new, so you need to keep up, right? So you just kind of keep your head above the water. That wasn't the case for Sonnen. Sonnen actually needed the digital transformation because they were growing so fast. Their existing tools, software, and processes weren't effective, efficient enough to keep up. Some of the things that they were experiencing was the rapidly growing teams. So how do you manage and organize that? They wanted to improve how they delivered the services to the clients. They wanted to work on the internal processes, right? They wanted to have a better understanding of what was happening within the business, within the whole ecosystem. They were getting a lot of data and traffic coming in from all their customers, and they needed to analyze that and store and extract insights from that. They weren't able to do that. They also had to comply with regulations. So how do you manage that? In the 4 years during their digital transformation, they focused on the two initiatives. Number one was the agile transformation. So they needed to change the processes, the company structure, how their teams worked, so that they were able to support the new tools and anything new that was coming in. So they needed to change the way they worked inside, how the organization worked inside, and how they handled customers. The second pillar was upgrading their software that they used to manage their whole ecosystem of keeping track of energy and data analytics and things like that. So they went on these two separate journeys. They were sort of interrelated, and they came out ahead. Now they were able to, the digital transformation that Sonnen had gone through, they were able to increase the number of clients that they were supporting. They got more leads coming in. There were faster, better services that they could deliver. One important thing was they simplified a lot of the things in their business, how all the internal processes, so they had a better view into the business. They could quickly point out where the problems were. They can figure out where the money was coming from, where it was going, and that increased the ability to turn on the dime. Their business became more agile. So this is one of the benefits of digital transformation. The business becomes more agile. Another example from the side of where you need to do it, because if you don't, the competition is going to get to you, is UPS. UPS is a shipping company known throughout the world, and in 2012 they needed to undergo a digital transformation in order to keep up with their competitors. One of the things that they wanted to do is implement real-time tracking and the route management. So their competition was already doing real-time tracking, so they were needed to respond to customer demand, and the route management would allow them to plan the routes better and figure out the route management would allow them to plan routes better and deliver more packages faster. The transformation was done in 2012. As a result, they were able to use machine learning to figure out which route would be best for each driver, so each driver could just deliver the packages without worrying whether they're going to take the right turn here and there. So they were able to save on fuel, deliver faster, deliver more. And it is estimated that their yearly savings from this digital transformation were between 300 million and 400 million per year. Some of you may be thinking, well, I have a small business. What does this got to do with me? And small businesses need to go through the same type of digital transformation as the big ones, just on a smaller scale. For example, if you own a store like dry cleaners and you want to accept credit cards, right? Before you were doing cash, now you want to accept credit cards. What do? You can go through a digital transformation project where you implement something like Square. It's a tool that allows people to pay with credit cards. So that's a small digital transformation that all of a sudden now you can expand your customer base, right? More people can come in and pay with a credit card if they want. You can charge more. Another example would be to implement a Shopify store to become an online e-commerce business. So now you were selling your wares in a physical store. Now you can also do this online. So that's digital transformation on the e-commerce side. You can implement digital transformation initiatives for marketing, for sales, just the general, how you manage your work. So as I said, small business, just like big business, need to stay on top of these things and keep up with the digital transformation digital changes in this world. So digital transformation, a process of adopting technology to make work easier, faster, better, less expensive, has become part of the business operation cycle, and it is here to stay. Just like when you have to remodel your house every once in a while, you have to look at your business operations and see how you can transform them every once in a while. And the pace depends really on the outside world, how quickly the outside world is changing. So to succeed in the digital world, you need to create a strategy shift inside your business and adopt digital transformation thinking into your planning and operations. Thank you for listening. This has been Strategy Shift Podcast, and we'll see you next time.